Hi, in the last video I hinted that if you have a name which is not a valid JavaScript identifier, then to access that particular property you'd have to use the square brackets. So dot would not work. For example, in this case we cannot access my car obj dot 7. This would give us an error. So if you wanted to access the object with a key of 7, we'd have to use the square brackets. So that's how you'd access the property here. You use the square brackets. So before I go to Scratchpad, just the basics. What is a legal identifier in JavaScript? It can start with a $sign. It can start with an underscore or any letter in the alphabet, but it cannot start with a number. It cannot start with a number, but you can have the elements within it as alphanumeric. So, for example, here we have patches. So you can say par 77, that's acceptable. You can have that in front of it, that's acceptable. Or you can have the $sign. You can have the $sign in there, that's acceptable. You can have caps. You can have underscore in between. That's acceptable, but you cannot have it fully as a number. So that's just the basic of what is a legal identifier. Let's do some examples. So now let me just get rid of this one, and I'll get rid of this part. So using the dot notation, we know that we can access anything here. If you want to access the name, you can access the name, because this would be a legal identifier in JavaScript. So if I display, there we go, it will give us the name. And if you want to access this element, we cannot access it using the dot notation. If I try to do that, that will give me an error. So if I want to access this, I have to use the square brackets. And if I display that result, it will give us, bring it back. If I display that result, it will give us the value there, which is start. Also, if we had, let's say we had another weird element down here. If we had an element whose name or key was a percentage, and we want to access this, we'd use this. Actually, we have to put it inside of that. So if you want to access the element which is in there, we do display and it will give us that. So if I forget to put this display, you see it gives us an error. So put it within that, and if we display, it will give us that. Even if it was just a dot and you want to access the element which is inside the dot display, it will give us that. If it is that you want to access, you just do that, display, and it will give us the element which is there. If it is the empty string, you know, the empty string, you can also use the empty string. Just by accessing this, you'd be able to access the element which is in the empty string, display there. So that's what I wanted to show you in this video, that if you want to access elements which are not legal JavaScript identifiers, you have to use the square brackets. Also, another thing, if you have two elements, if you have two properties with the same name, the last property value is the one which should be taken. Now in this case, if I take my car object and I copy this property of make, so you can also access elements just using the square brackets. Even this one you can access using the square brackets and it will still work. So if I try to access this, it will give me the last one. So always bear that in mind. It will not give you the first, it will give you the last. So if I display this, it will give me the last element, the last property I mean. Now in this section, we've taken a small amount of time in looking at objects and also looked at object literals. And we've seen that you can create objects and give them a value, give them a name and a value, and then you can have anything actually inside. You can have anything inside the object. And in this video we saw that if an element is not a legal, if an element name is not a legal identifier, then you have to access it using the square brackets. So that's it for this object literal sections. If you have any questions, just let me know. You have any questions, ask me and I'll be there to assist you. So I'll see you in the next section, and in the next section we are going to look at regular expression literals, which is the regex, which is also called the regex literal, and that will end our section on literals. So I'll see you in that next video.